distinguished Secretary General of the WIZMUN 2025. I start with her because she's the most important person in the room. And Vice Chairperson, Ms. Vakil, Principal and CEO, Dr. Harrison, Advisor, Ms. Chatterjee, and Ms. Priyadarshini, the Chief Advisor for WIZMUN. Let me start by, I come to these, I get invited a lot to speak, so it is very easy to be carried away by what you think is important. Whereas we are not here to listen to me, we are here to listen to each other. I think, let me start with collaboration. So there are 5 things I'll touch upon: collaboration, respect, humility, empathy, and most importantly, the interconnectedness of our existence itself. So respect starts with any of you that is having a phone that is now looking at their phones, could you kindly put it away? That's where respect starts, because being present in a room is not just enough. It is important to listen to each other, because when we don't listen, 3 things happen. We lose a great opportunity to hear a different point of view, something more than us, something better than us. Many years ago, I was speaking at the University of British Columbia in Vancouver, and a young lady in the audience asked me a question that really was very difficult to answer, actually. She said, "You've had a very fascinating career. How did you plan all this?" And I said, well, that's a tough question, because I could either lie that I had big plans and I had thought through all of it, or that I had no plans actually, which was the truth. Never be afraid to tell the truth. The Upanishads tell us that the truth sets you free. What does that even mean? What it means is that when you lie, you have to remember the lie. And that you had lied to somebody, when you come across that person again, you have to remember, oh, I told this person that lie. That's how the truth sets you free. You don't have to remember a thing. And lies complicate our lives in ways we don't even imagine. So responding to this young lady, I said, well, I had no plans. But as I look back, the one thing that really stands out, that strings together every place I have been to, I've been to 120 countries at last count, met innumerable champions like yourselves. Do not underestimate yourself. The fact that you competed in your schools, the fact that you showed up here today to debate with fellow debaters, tells me that you have passion, you have drive, you have imagination, you have desire to excel in life. Bhubaneswar has hundreds of thousands of students. Why are there only 250 in the room? Not because of the size of the room. It's because you care. Sometimes we do these things intuitively. We really don't know the strengths in ourselves. So I was responding to this young lady and I told her, listen, I had no plans, but one thing I know for a fact is that every time I had an opportunity, I would listen very carefully. And that by listening to others, my knowledge base improved. People often talk about connecting the dots. You must have heard about it. There's nothing called connecting the dots. It's collecting the dots. Every experience in life is a dot that accumulates in your mind, and as you collect the dots, it's called in neuroscience, it's called the science of neuroplasty. Neurons that fire together, wire together. So the more dots you have, they rearrange themselves in your mind to give you the pathways to success. It's not connecting the dots. The dots connect themselves. provided you have collected enough. And how you collect is by listening carefully. So that's what I was telling this young lady, that I have listened very carefully every person I have come across in life. And that got me into different assignments. I was not a very brilliant student. I was all right. But I became a brilliant student by every standard by listening to my teachers, to my family, to my friends, to my peers. You'll be surprised how much you can learn from your friends. The more you listen, the more you learn. That's the power of respect. Now about collaboration. Let me go a little bit into the history of these MUNs, since you are doing Model UN, especially the history of the United Nations itself. I should know because I was with the organization for about 25 years and I was at the highest levels of the organization. I was a part of the cabinet of Secretary General Guterres and I was leading the environment management group of the UN. What did I learn there? When we stop talking, we start fighting. The UN was not created, and these are not my words, the words of a great leader of the UN almost 50 years ago. He said, the UN was not created to take people to heaven. It was created to prevent people from going to hell. That's what it means. When we stop talking, we start fighting. The wars that you see in different parts of the world is because we do not have the humility and the empathy within us to talk to each other, to appreciate that there could be different points of view, and that having a different point of view, a different religion, a different persuasion, a different gender, is nothing wrong about it. The religions we have, or the gender we have, are pure biological accidents. We were born in of course, you can choose your religion. Very few people choose their religion, really. We are born into a culture, into a family, into a community, and that's how we pick up what we will eventually become. And that's why the power of stories is extremely important when we talk about collaboration, because you will eventually become the stories you tell yourself. It is a narrative that shapes us. When you listen to negative things from WhatsApp University, that's why I said let's put our phones down, because it's not based on facts, most of it. Somebody thinks, oh, I thought something, it sounds really cool. Let me say, oh, Einstein said this. And if I'm stupid enough, I will believe Einstein said that. I'm not going to fact check it. So every time any bit of information comes your way, please fact check. Otherwise, you are incredibly stupid. Because if you are not thinking for yourself, somebody will do the thinking for you. Then you become a slave of their minds. You are not the champion of your own mind, where you can create, where you can really drive imagination and innovation. So when the UN was, the first version of the UN was called the League of Nations. And it collapsed during the First World War because we stopped talking to each other. And then that led to the Second World War, where the world literally, the world that you enjoy today, if you go back 1,000 years, life expectancy was only 30 years for a human being. Then we came to 100 years ago, life expectancy was only 35 years. Now life expectancy is 73 years. All the good things that we take for granted would be over for a person like me. I would be dead 35 years ago if I went by the life expectancy of that time. So all the good things that you take for granted is primarily because we are talking to each other. That is why gatherings such as this is extremely important. Make no mistakes. And the more we debate, the more we talk to each other. They say sympathy is knowing how you feel, empathy is feeling how you feel. I used to be a debater in my time, so I was in one competition where I ended up second, and a girl came first actually. And then I had a bunch of friends who told me, oh, she doesn't know how to speak. You were much better than her, I'm sure somebody will tell you that. I was telling myself, wow, what a speaker. What can I learn from her? I went home and I learned everything, the diction, the articulation, the making the point, the emphasis. I said, wow, there's so much to learn from this young lady. I never came second in any debate competition after that. Not by hating her, but by respecting her and learning from her. That's what I hope you will do in this gathering. When you talk to each other, somebody will have a better point. Somebody will have a better argument. By respecting that, by learning from them, in the next competition you are at, you will be better, not by hating them. That's the power of collaboration. You collaborate even if you are not there to collaborate. And then empathy and humility. Carl Sagan, the famous cosmologist, if you really watch WhatsApp and TikTok, I would strongly recommend you find videos of Carl Sagan talking. He said famously that our earth is a speck of dust suspended on a sunbeam. He wasn't far from the truth, actually. Do you know how many stars are there in our galaxy? 4 billion. If each star means a solar system like ours, there are 4 billion. You know how many galaxies are there that we know of now? 3 billion. So if you calculate all of that, you will know how inconsequential planet Earth is. But when you do that, you should also think of how significant planet Earth is. Because there's nothing like us anywhere within those 12 billion trillion stars, solar systems in the cosmos. And that is why it is worth protecting. Before I close, I want you to think about this. Every glass of water you drink has come through somebody's body. Some species, some fish, some human. Really, as scary as it sounds. Every breath you take in this room has gone through 100 people before it entered your nose. Every breath. That's reality. When you think you're truly special, maybe you are, but for different reasons. You're special because you have empathy. You're special because you have humility. You're special because you have respect, not because of what you look like and who you are as a human being. And so empathy is not just being respectful, being kind to fellow humans. We are 8 million species on the planet. We talked about the Irrawaddy dolphin. We talked about olive ridley turtles. Humans somehow, in our arrogance, we believe that the whole world was created for us. Not true. We talk about nature as if we are separate from nature. We are nature. So is every of the 8 million species that inhabits the planet. So when we talk about empathy, empathy is true empathy when you think of every species that is on the planet. And as you debate, as you wrestle with each other verbally, in the finest possible traditions of great debaters like Julius Caesar, and I can think of 2,000 years ago, in the halls of ancient Rome, where the senators debated to make their points across. And even going back to the very name of this great institution, Wisdom Tree Global School. When I was a kid, I was a great fan of Sanskrit language. And I remember thousands of shlokas. I actually know the entire Bhagavad Gita by heart. I know all the 700 shlokas. But the one that really registers with me is this. It says, Sevitabyam Mahabriksham, Briksha Chaya Sannihitam, Yadi Daivat Phalam Nasti, Chaya Kena Nivaryate. What it means is that If you serve a great tree, the tree comes with its shade. Even if the tree gives you no fruits, who can ever take away the shade? And in this time of global warming, we need shade more than anything else. So let that be your guiding spirit for the debates. Thank you.